We've been working with the National Gallery in Ottawa for several years on a couple of projects. Most recently working on the Venice Biennale, which is the most prestigious art show in the world. The Biennale itself is situated in an incredible landscape in its own right. It's a historic garden that was actually built on a mound of rubble when Napoleon invaded and conquered Venice. The Canadian Pavilion is set right on the top of this knoll, and it has an incredible vista of the laguna, which is the waterfront of Venice. When you first arrive on the site, you really don't notice its incredible promontory. It's really kind of squeezed in between two larger neighbors. There's the German pavilion on one side and the UK on the other, and then there's this little Canadian pavilion. It's really a jewel of a building. It's very small and it's located on the highest point of this knoll. Basically, there were three major components or objectives to this project. The first one was more of a master plan level design to try to create a series of interconnected pathways and open spaces for people to congregate. The second big part of the project was to be true to the heritage components of not just the building, but the landscape. We had to do a lot of research to understand the history of the space. So that entailed a very rigorous study of the plant communities to try to understand what is heritage or indigenous plants in Italy. Every aspect of our design had to be rigorously reviewed with the Heritage Office to make sure that we got everything right: the choice of stainless steel, the choice of the Ipe wood, the choice of every plant, the choice of the crushed gravel or the Verona stone, the marble. The materials had to be appropriate to the time and the era. The design intents had to be appropriate to the building. The third major part of the project was to design a space around the pavilion that would be a space for Canada to use for special events. The Canadian Pavilion is very small. Rather than expand the pavilion, they said, let's expand the landscape around it. We designed a series of structures, decks, carefully refurbished the landscape around the pavilion, and we replanted several of the areas around the pavilion. We also had to do a lot of very selective clearing and grading to bring back the sightlines and the views. Some of the greatest successes around the pavilion actually took place in the larger context of the design. We didn't just improve the Canadian Pavilion, but by working with the Giardini and the Biennale, we improved all the spaces around it, and we created a much larger landscape. That landscape is something that every visitor is going to enjoy, and it really improved the entire site.